In today's tutorial, we're going to get a little bit fancy with our Python turtle coding, and we're going to be drawing this mountain range scene. So we're going to be using a lot of the techniques we've already learnt so far this term. So we're going to be drawing triangles up there for the mountains, we've got circles and rectangles for the trees, a big circle for the sun, and then just some random lines to draw the snow caps on top of those mountains. Alright, so to get started, open up your Python editor. In my case, I'm using Mu. And as always, we'll bring in the first line of code that says from turtle import star. So we're importing everything from the turtle module, which will allow us to access functions to draw on the screen. The speed at which we're drawing today is speed 0, and the BG color, which is our background color, is going to be set to sky blue. Instead of drawing the sky, I'm just going to set it as the background color. So I'm going to save this already, and I'm going to call it mountain range. And just give it a test run to make sure that my background color is working, which it is. So I've got that nice sky blue color for my background. Remember, the little black thing in the middle of the page there is your turtle, which is going to be drawing all the shapes for you today. Alright, next thing I'm going to draw is the grass. Okay, easy to do, is just a big green rectangle. So I'm going to put in a comment that says grass, and I'm going to have to lift my pen up off the page while I go to my starting set of coordinates, which is right over the left hand side of the page, so minus 400 on the x-axis. We're going to head down a little bit on the y-axis to minus 100. Once we're in position, we can put the pen back down on the page, select our colour for the grass, which is going to be lime green today, and then we're going to begin our fill. So that means we can start filling in the shape that we draw. Now, to draw a big rectangle, we're just going to use a simple for loop. So I'm going to write for I in range 2, put a colon, and now we'll write in the lines of code that we need to repeat 2 times. So we're going to go forward 800 pixels and turn right 90 degrees. We'll then go forward 400 pixels down the page, and then swing it around right 90 degrees once more time. After those 4 lines of code have run once, that'll be half a rectangle drawn. It will loop back around and repeat them a second time, because we told it up here in the for loop line that we want to repeat the following code 2 times. Okay, when you're done, jump out of that loop by moving your mouse cursor back to the left side of the page and end that fill off. That means that the green rectangle will now be filled in. Okay, so that there is our green grass. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start drawing the mountains off in the distance. So I'm going to start with the left mountain. The one on the left hand side of the page, a little bit smaller than the one in the middle. I'm going to go and write pen up and move to our set of coordinates, which is minus 400. So again on the very left hand side of the page. And we're going to start at minus 100. So same position where we started drawing the grass from. Put our pen down when we're in position, and we'll choose our colour for this mountain. I'm going to go with a dim grey. Remember to spell grey the American way too, with an A in there, not an E. We can then begin our fill because we've selected our colour, and that means we're going to start filling in the next shape that we draw, which is going to be a triangle. Okay, so going back to a previous tutorial, we can draw a triangle using a for loop, which repeats some code 3 times. So for I in range 3, we're going to move forward 300 pixels. We're going to turn left at 120 degrees. So we've got an equilateral triangle. Each corner on the triangle is set to 120 degrees. When you're done, just end that fill off. And that is the code to draw our first mountain. Let's go and have a look at that. There it is. So that looks pretty nice. What I want to do now is just repeat that over on the right hand side of the page. So it's a copy and paste job here. So what I'm going to do is highlight that left mountain code and make a bit of room at the bottom. Paste that in. I'm going to change the comment from left to right, and the coordinates we're going to need to change here from minus 400. I'm going to set it to 100, minus 100. Pen's going to go down. The colour's already dim grey, so I don't need to write that a second time, so I can delete that. We'll begin the fill. For I in range 3, forward 300, left 120, end the fill. Hopefully that's going to draw ourselves a mountain on the right hand side of the page. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now it's time to draw the big fella that's going to go in the middle there. So he's a little bit bigger than the other two mountains. Okay, similar code though. So again, Let's copy and paste. So I'm just going to highlight the code for the right mountain, paste it in below, and I'm going to change this to say middle mountain. Okay, we'll need to lift our pen up again, and the coordinates we need to go to now to start is -160, -100. Put the pen down. Now we're going to need to put a color back in here. Because this bigger mountain is going to be more in the foreground, I'm going to choose a lighter grey. So I'm just going to choose the normal grey color in Turtle. Remember to use the A, not the E, when you're spelling grey. We'll begin the fill. The range for the for loop is going to be 3 again. We're going to go forward 400 pixels this time, so we're going to be a little bit bigger than the other two mountains. The angle in the corners of the triangles is going to stay the same at 120, and we'll end the fill off. Save it and run it, and we should have 3 mountains now positioned on our page. Because we drew this bigger mountain last in our code, it appears on top of the other 2 mountains, which we had appearing earlier in the code. Okay, so these ones get drawn first in the background, and then the big guy gets drawn last, so he goes over the top of the other mountains. Okay, and I think that lighter shade of grey does look good, makes it look like it's more in the foreground than the other 2 mountains. Alright, so that's our mountains drawn. To get into the tricky part now, we are going to start drawing the ice caps on the mountains. Okay, this is done with a bit of trial and error. So I have done this program already, so I know the exact coordinates I need for these snow caps. Okay, if you were doing your own, you would have to do a bit of trial and error to try and work out the start and end positions of where your snow caps were going to go. Alright, so let's put in a hashtag here, and we'll start with the middle mountain since we're already working on it. We'll say middle mountain ice cap, or snow cap, whatever you want to call it. We're going to have to lift our pen up off the page and go to our new set of coordinates, which is -35, 120. Put our pen back down on the page, and we'll turn our fill on. Actually, we need to pick a color here. Forgot about that. Let's pick color white. Okay, so we've got a white ice cap that's about to be drawn on the middle mountain. So to do it, we need to turn left 35 degrees first of all, just to get my turtle facing in the right direction. Then I'm going to go forward 60 pixels. So I'll show you what that does. Okay, I'm starting from this point, and I've gone 60 pixels in that direction. Okay, I'm then going to go down and then just do a little zigzag there before going up to the tip, and then back around to exactly where I started. Okay, this did take me a little while to work out. Okay, good 10 minutes or so to try and get these coordinates exactly right. Okay, so it does take a bit of trial and error, but you can do it quickly if you're copying along with me. So I'm going to turn right 90 degrees now and go forward 30. Then we're going to go left 100 pixels. And then, left 100 pixels, we're going left 100 degrees, sorry, and then forward 45 pixels. My mistake. We'll then go right 85 degrees and forward 65 pixels, left 160 degrees and forward 150 pixels. Let's have a test run and see how that looks. Okay, not too bad. We just need to finish off now down here by simply writing end fill, and that'll take us from that line down to our finishing position. So let's just add in end fill. Let's watch this close up. Done. So that is our first ice cap or snow cap on top of a mountain. We're going to do 2 more now in the background. Again, I was a little bit fiddly trying to work these out, but I did get there eventually. So just follow along with my coordinates here. Hopefully I can get them right first time. I'm going to put a comment in that says left mountain ice cap. And like before, pretty similar code to start with. We'll lift our pen up and then we'll go to our set of coordinates, which is -215 and 100. Put our pen back down on the page, and we're going to pick a colour that's slightly darker white. You're barely going to notice the difference, but I'm going to choose a colour called snow, which is probably suitable for this tutorial. And then we're going to begin our fill. Okay, we're going to go forward 70 to start with, and then we're going to turn left 120. After that we'll go forward 75, and left 150. Then we'll go forward 45. And we're going right 90. Forward 45. And left 120. Just want to see where I'm at there. We'll be getting pretty close. Not too bad. I'm just going to try and end the fill there and see if that connects up. And fill. There we go. So we've got our next snow cap done. Let's do the same again over here. We'll just make the zigzag slightly different so they all don't look the same. And that will be our snow-capped mountains all finished. So I'm going to put another comment down here that says right mountain ice cap. And like before, we need to take our pen up first and go to a new set of coordinates, which is 203, very specific, and 80 on the y-axis. We'll put our pen back down. The colour's fine as it is on snow, so we don't need to change that again, so we can just begin our fill. Okay, we're going to go forward 95 to start with, then right 120. Then going forward 80. And right 150. Then I'm going to go forward 50. And left 70. And I'm going to end the fill there, and hopefully that's it. I think I might have missed a line. We'll just have a look. Oh no, I got it. There we go. So our 3 ice-capped or snow-capped mountains there are all done. So we are looking good. Next thing I'm going to draw is a big yellow sun in the top left-hand corner of the page. It's just going to be a big yellow circle, but some of it is going to be cut off outside of the screen. Okay, so to do that, we're going to need to swing our mouse around in a different direction. So left 50 degrees first of all. And then I'm going to put in a comment that says the sun. We'll lift our pen up off the page and go to the starting coordinates, which is actually just outside of our page, so minus 500 on the x-axis, and 350 up in the sky on the y-axis. Put our pen down, select our colour of yellow, just an obvious one for the sun. We'll begin our fill, draw a circle that's 125 in radius, and we'll end our fill off there. And that will have our sun drawn in the top left corner of the page. Let's have a quick look. There we go. If I just expand the screen for a moment, you can see that it is a full circle. Okay, but we're actually just hiding it in our actual window view. So that's looking pretty nice. Last thing I want to add in is some trees down in the foreground here. Now I want all my trees to look the same, just scattered around in different positions. Okay, so this is one way to code it up, which will be a little bit less code than if you were to code all the trees individually. I'm going to get fancy here. I'm going to use something called a function. Okay, I'll explain it as we go along. So I'm going to put a comment in here, and I'm going to write the word def, which is short for define. It means we're about to define a function or name a function, which is just a little snippet of code that can be used over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the code to draw a tree. And instead of just putting that code in once, I'm going to call it up multiple times to draw multiple trees. And instead of writing all the code over and over again, okay, all I need to write in is one line of code and it will repeat those trees on my page. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose my color first of all, which is saddle brown. That's going to be the trunk of the tree. I'm going to begin the fill, and I'm just going to use a for loop to draw the trunk. So for I in range 2, colon, and we're going to go forward 40, left 90, forward 10, and left 90. And it's going to draw the trunk of my tree. We just need to also jump out of that loop and end the fill there. Coming down a little bit lower, we just need to do a bit of a twist around to get this circle in the right position. So I'm going to go forward 10 pixels, left 90 degrees, and then forward 5. That's going to position myself, or position the turtle, sorry, in the right spot so we can draw the green section, which is going to be the leaves of the tree. Okay, so what I might do is I might put in some comments. I'm going to say tree trunk there. And I'm going to put a comment here that just says turn the turtle around. And down here I'm going to put another comment that says leaves on tree. Alright, so what we're going to do for the leaves on the tree is give them a colour first of all. A suitable colour for leaves would be forest green. Oops, needs to be all one word. Once we've got forest green in, we can turn our fill back on. Draw a circle, which is a simple way to draw the leaves on a tree, with a radius of 25. And we'll just end that fill off once we're done. The last thing I want to do is just turn right 90 degrees there. That'll just get our turtle in the right position for when we draw more trees in just a moment. So just zooming out for a sec here. This section of code here, it's rather long. There's a good 22 lines of code there. We would have to write each time we wanted a tree drawn on the page. It's a hell of a lot quicker to just write one line of code than 20 odd lines of code, isn't it? Okay, so let's just test that out. Actually, I'll show you what it does when I run this. It's actually not going to draw the tree at all. I'll show you why in a sec. Okay, it draws everything we did before, but no tree. And the reason being is we need to call up this function to actually run. So we've made this function of code here, but we haven't told Python to actually run what's inside of this function called tree. So down the very bottom of your code here, what I want you to do is plant the first tree. Okay, so I'll just put in a little comment that says that. Plant the first tree. Now, I'm going to need to move in position first of all. I'm going to need to lift my pen up and go to minus 25, minus 200. And then we'll put our pen down. And to draw the tree, all I need to do is use the name of the function, which is tree, and then just do bracket, bracket. When the computer gets to this line of code and sees this here, it says, right, I need to go back and run that function called tree. So here's the function called tree, and it's going to run all of those lines of code inside of it. Okay, so let's have a look now. When we run it, we should get down to this bottom section where our turtle goes to that position and then runs the tree function to draw the first tree. So let's have a look. There we go, smack bang in the middle of the page down there on the grass. We've got our first tree. What we want to do is plant a few more. Okay, so I'm going to copy those last few lines of code that we put in for planting the first tree. And I'm going to plant the second tree. All we need to change is the coordinates. Where do we want this second tree to go? Okay, so I'm going to go 200 and minus 150. That should be still on the grass down below. There we go. So it's drawn the second tree. So you can see all we're doing is just changing our coordinates. Okay, but the trees are going to all look exactly the same because each time the computer sees that tree bracket bracket, it says, right, I need to go back and run this function here. Alright, so that saves us writing all that code each time we want a new tree. It's very handy. So I'm going to keep copying that. I'm going to do quite a few trees, maybe about 6 or so. We'll do the third tree. Let's do 300 and minus 250 for our coordinates. 300 minus 250. Copy it again. We'll put in the fourth tree. Okay, the coordinates for this one, let's do minus 300 minus 250. That way we won't have to change too much. And let's just do 5 trees to save time. We'll do one more. Plant the fifth tree. Coordinates for this one, minus 200 and minus 100 should do us nicely. Let's have a look at how that's going. We should have 5 trees now down the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. The last thing I'm going to do is simply hide the turtle from showing up. So remember the turtle's that little cursor thing that draws all the shapes on the screen. Best to hide it once your program's finished so no one can see it. And that's it. Save it. Give it a run. You've got your mountain range, you've got your sun, you've got your trees down the bottom. Okay, this is a pretty fancy piece of code here. You've used quite a few techniques that you've learned over the term, and in particular using functions to speed up how quickly you code stuff is super handy. Okay, that's one way of doing the trees too. You could have just written this out time and time again. That's another way to do it. It's just a bit time consuming. Another way to do it could have been using a loop. You could have used a for loop maybe to draw all these trees at different locations, but I think using the function is probably the most time effective way of doing it. Okay, I'll shut up now. That is your mountain range done. I will catch you in the next video.